Next one is data profiling. What is data profiling? What is data profiling? You must have done it, right? So whether it is irrespective of the type of the report tool that you use, you must have done the data profiling. What is data profiling? Why do we need to do the data profiling? Data profiling is nothing but the process of understanding more about the data. For example, here you have the units sold column. You want to understand more about this columns data here, right? So in that case, we have a data profiling options available in the case of Power Query Editor. So for each column, it gives you the statistics like this. So how many number of records are there? Okay, here if you see 1, 2, 3 up to 10. So 10 records are there. Count, takes into account of the null values also. And error is 0. We don't see any error here. And we don't see any, we could see the 3 empty records. Look here, this is the one. The null, and the other one is also null. And one more thing is null. 3 null values are there. This is considered as an empty. 3 empty values are there. Okay, and then next one is we'll discuss a little later. NaN is 0. We don't see NaN, not a number. NaN stands for not a number. So when will you get this kind of error, NaN? This is not specific to Power BI. Can someone tell me what is NaN? Don't tell me not a number. So what exactly it says, NaN? When will you get this kind of error, NaN? This is very common, right? Ramya, so you are an experienced person. NaN, not a number. For example, here's something like anything divided by 0, what will happen? 0 divided by anything is 0. Anything divided by 0 is infinity, right? So if you come across anything like that, right, you will find something like NaN or something like that, okay? So here we don't see any NaN related problem. And 0, how many zeros are there? We have only 1 0 here. Look here, only 1 0 is there in this data set. We have only 1 0 is here in this column. And then what is the maximum value? This is the maximum value. Okay, this is our maximum value. Average and standard deviation, even. How many number of even values are there? How many number of odd values are there? Okay, that is what it gives us. It gives us the statistics about each and every column, so that before even you start build your report, if you can understand the quality of the data with the help of conducting the data profiling, you can fix it then and there, right? In case of any data literacy, you can fix it then and there. For example, if you find any outlier while you perform data profiling, you can also catch the outliers. What do you mean by outliers? The data scientists, they know this term, outlier. So, exceptionally very high value, exceptionally very high value, and or unusually very low value. For example, in the case of sales column, you can see something like negative value, very low values there. Okay, anything which is very high value, anything which is very low value, that is called your outlier. But there is a formula for outlier. I don't want to overwhelm you with the formula and all. Okay, but with that you can find out. So how you can find out the outlier? For example, you have 0 here. The minimum value is 0 here. This is your quantity, right? Units sold, and the maximum is 15. This one seems to be kind of okay, right? Some customer, they would have ordered 15 items in a single order. Okay, right? So maybe this is the maximum. Fine. But if you find something like 100,000, what will you think? You can easily find out. Since the maximum is too high, that too for the quantity column, there is some data entry mistake here, the typo. Right? As soon as you see this one, hey, there is some abnormally very high value is there, probably you can check with your stakeholders, internal stakeholders, and ask them, is this a valid value or is it invalid? If they say, no, no, there is some problem, mistakenly we put additional 3 zeros, it was supposed to be 100. Then you can fix it before even you go and create the data model or create the reports. So data profiling helps you to identify the outliers also. Okay. What we will do is, see, there are 3 options are available when it comes to Power BI query editor. One is the column quality, column distribution, and the other one is column profile. Column quality display the percentage of valid versus, for example, I just show you. I just head back to the Power BI desktop here. Let me apply these changes, otherwise. Okay, due to some error here, we are not able to proceed further. I just undo this. Close and apply. You know what is close and apply, right? So what are the steps that you carried out? That one will be permanently applied to your data model. Okay, I will load one more file here. So already we have so many files are there. Anyhow, it will not, this is a very small file only. Because if I open the other file, it takes a lot of time. Sales by customer. It has very less number of data. And here I have used all the data types here. And if I go to the data view here, on the right side, you need to select the file which I loaded, sales by customer. And if you see here, the customer names are there, units sold, these are the data that are available in my sales by customer table. And if you see here, this is a text data type, this is a numeric data type, and this is your Boolean data type. This is again a text data type. What I do is I just do the data profiling. Instead of doing it here manually, I just go to the transform data. This is nothing but the Power Query editor. There we will go and take a look at it. Look here, if I select sales by customer, you can see this. The ABC is nothing but the data type of this column. Okay, each and every column next to that, you can see the 1, 2, 3 or ABC. It is nothing but the data type. And let us start with the first column customer name. For this, we'll do the data profiling. For this, you need to go to the view ribbon. I just unselect everything so that I'll start with the column quality. The moment when I selected this one, you can see the 3 metrics here. Okay. So in the case of column quality, it displays the percentage of valid, error, and empty records in this column. Okay, and I have something called column profile. When I select this, it gives me the statistics about this column, all these statistics, and then the value distribution also it shows here in chart. So what it tells us here is the number of records are 9 here. Okay, in this number of values or 9 values are there in this column, and we don't see any error, and we don't see any empty values are there here. And if you see the data here, and you can see at the last record for this specific column, we don't see any value, but it says empty 0. Why? Because it is a text data type. In the case of text data type, it considers this as an empty string. Hence, here it shows 1. This you need to remember it. Okay. This might appear right very trivial, but real time when you do some kind of analysis, it will break your head. Okay, unless you know the difference, empty and empty string. in the case of text data type. And this next one is minimum. Minimum is this one, the empty, and maximum is true. In the alphabet, for these values, right, the T comes later compared to other values. Hence, the maximum is true. And if you look at this chart, how do you interpret this? You get an instant insight when you see this. So Baron is the frequent purchaser. He is the one frequently visit the store, retail store, because his name appears more than one time. But whereas the rest of the guys, it appears only one time. For example, Larry, it appears only one time. Chris, it appears only one time. Likewise, except Baron, rest of the other customers' names appears only once. The taller, the horizontal bar tells us this guy is the most frequent visitor to my shop. So now we selected the column profile. So this is the one displays the more in-depth view of the term. Now, if I select unit sold, in this case, what happened? Look here, when I select the text data type, you will not find the mean, standard deviation, all the things, because you cannot add Baron plus Larry plus Baron divided by 9 or something, or 10, right? Next, unit sold, I selected this column. Here you can see the number of values or 9 even in this column, and the error is 0. There are no error, and empty is 3. This time it shows empty is 3 because null values are there. If you have any blank values are there in any column, right? Power BI, Power Query, it will replace the blank value with null. Okay. So the empty is 3. That is why it shows 3. 3 null values are 3. Next one is the distinct and unique. What is distinct and unique? In SQL query, you would have used a distinct, right? So what is distinct? It gives you the kind of a unique value only. But here, it shows unique some value, and distinct, it shows some other value. What is the difference here? The unique is nothing but, let's take this column. Excluding the duplicate values, right? If you exclude the duplicate values, what are the values you left with? That is called your unique value. For example, Baron appears more than one time. It has a duplicate, hence it simply dropped this. What are the unique values here? So these are the unique values. Because Chris and Rach, their names are appearing only one time. And it takes into account of the blank space also, right? So the 3 plus 3, 6. That is what you can see, unique 6. Next one is what is distinct. In the case of distinct, what happens is, it is kind of like your unique, but it disregards even if the values are repeating more than once, but it's still taking into account of that specific value. For example, apart from the 6 unique values, the Baron is, though it is non-unique, what it does is it takes only one value. For the 3, it takes only one value. So that is the difference between distinct and unique. Got it? Irrespective of the fact that the values are appearing multiple times, in the case of distinct, what it does is, still it considers this one, the Baron. See, the Baron is a customer name. He visited your store 3 different times. Just because he visited 3 different times or his name is appearing 3 times in this data set, that doesn't mean these 3 guys are different guys, right? Maybe a same guy would have visited your store, in 3 different times. Unit sold is different for Baron. No, that is different. See, we are analyzing only this column. Okay, this is different. Yeah, you're okay. You are making that point. Yes, unit sold also you can find out, right? Yes, correct. So Baron the units sold also different. Okay. So with that also we can make out, yeah, for distinct. But when it comes to distinct, it takes into account of each and every column. Okay. So it takes into account of unique values plus the non-unique value. For the non-unique values, it takes only one value, right? Just because the baron appears more than one time, that doesn't mean, these three names are different guys, right? So these three names are, let's assume that, okay, these three guys are the same guy. So in that case, even though it duplicates, it still take into account of only one value out of these duplicated values. Okay, three values. So distinct is 7. I just repeat, I think a few of you are still not clear with distinct. Look here. So can you tell me what the unique values are there? Unique is exclude the duplicate values. Baron appears more than one time. Okay, first we'll start with the unique value. Larry and True 22 and Rage and Chris and including this one. Okay, this is your empty value. So 3 plus 3, 6, that is what your unique value. In addition to this unique value, the distinct what apart from this, what distinct does is, are there any other unique values are there? So baron, right? Though it appears more than one time, still it considers only one thing, right? Out of the duplicated values, it will consider only one value, baron. So 3, 6, 1, 7. 7 records are there. So now you understood the difference between unique and distinct. Distinct means the total number of different values, irrespective of the fact that how many number of times it appears in your data set. And then you have something as called column distribution. If you select this, just beneath this valid error empty, for each column, it gives you the number of unique and distinct values. I explained to you what is the difference between unique and distinct. It gives you, so that with this you can quickly understand how many distinct values are there in each column. So to summarize, the column quality here, the column quality displays the percentage of valid versus error versus empty, whereas the column distribution, right, this is the one, it tells us the distribution within the data, right? Distributions within the data. Okay, and the next one is the column profile. So this gives us the more in-depth view of the columns, and including the count of rows. And in case of any error, it shows us. Okay, it gives us the detailed information about the data. We can say that way. But this is very much important, though it appears trivial. In the real world, this is very much helpful. See, some cases, what will happen? Let's say you have the city column. Let's assume that this is a city name. So here, what happens? You have something like that some duplicate values are there, or you have something like let me write it here. Okay. For example, you have something like New Delhi. In the Delhi retail chain, right? In Delhi, you have multiple stores are there. In some stores, retail store, they put ND. ND stands for New Delhi. Some stores, they use New Delhi. To represent a specific city itself, they use different naming standards, New Delhi, ND and all. So in that case, what will happen is in your report, it will not show the correct value for the New Delhi. For example, in New Delhi, you would have done 100,000 sales. Since you have used the two different naming standard, maybe 70%, which is nothing but 70,000 have gone here, and remaining 30,000 have gone, or 7 lakh and 3 lakh. It got splitted. Ideally, these two values are same. New Delhi. But it splitted because of this naming standard issues. Okay, these kind of issues, will be taken care by the data governance team. If you look at the larger enterprises, they have something called governance team. Governance. data governance team. It's a virtual team. What they do is they are the one responsible for this one. These kind of issues. Hey, you need to use New Delhi only, don't specify ND. Okay. They will create some document and then they will share it with all the location people so that they are supposed to follow that. So this is kind of a data inconsistency. With the help of distinct or unique, you can quickly make out. See, let's say you are selling your products in actually in 6 cities. Okay. But if this shows 7 cities, so that could be because of this problem. There is only one city, New Delhi, but they use different term here, ND, because of, see, already you have, let's assume that you have 6 cities are there, including New Delhi, and the 7 cities ND. So is that related to New Delhi or some other thing? According to the Power BI, it will think, these two are different thing. So you can, by looking at this, you can, hey, 7 distinct values, something wrong here. Ideally, 6 should be there in the distinct, because we sell our products across 6 cities only, not 7 cities. So in that case, what they do is, if you see 7, right, they will go and take a deep dive. So where the problem happened? Okay, you go and look at this value. Okay, replace this one by New Delhi, so that all your sales that belong to New Delhi, right, will get summarized. It will get mapped to this one, or it will get added to that New Delhi. You can eliminate inconsistent data. If you are using New Delhi, across the locations, you tell everyone should use New Delhi. If someone uses ND, right, few of them, what will happen? That specific transactional data will get splitted for the New Delhi to these two values. So this is very much important by doing this, okay? Because when you do, when you create a report, and when the report user, when they see it, and when they see 7 cities, actually you are selling only in 6 cities. If they see 7 cities, they will ask, first of all, we don't do the business across 7 cities. We do it only across 3 cities, 6 cities. Why it shows 7, right? So better you do data profiling and look at these things, and then in case of any issues, you fix it. And then next step is you go for the advanced data transformation. Okay, implement all the business logic, everything. And then what you do is you perform aggregation based on your business requirement, right? You join the tables, do the pre-processing, and then load it into Power BI Desktop. Okay. But this is very much important, the data profile. But most of them, they skip this step. They directly load the data and they go and do the data transformation. Next one is, we will take a look at, okay, again, I'll have to open this one. The pivoting, how do we do the pivoting? Okay, for that, we need to select transform. What is transpose and what is pivot? You take a look at what is transpose and what is transpose and what is pivot and what is unpivot. We'll take a look at this one. So what is transpose is all about? For example, I don't have the right data here. So I'll just load the other data here. So you can, being in your Power Query editor itself, you can load the data here. For that, you need to select home here, new data source. And here's something called expenses file is there. I just open it. I'm going to select the expenses sheet in this Excel file. Okay, year, month, and the expenses are there. Look here, this is my expenses. Okay, each year and the 9 months, right? How much expenses we have incurred. This is the data set we have it. So what I am going to do is I'm going to select the transform ribbon. Here you have different options: transpose, reverse rows, and pivot column and unpivot. Since I believe most of you are familiar with pivot and unpivot, we'll start with the pivot and unpivot. This pivot or unpivot. So what I am going to do is I'm going to select the pivot column by selecting the year column in this data set. Here what happens is, use the name in column year to create new column. Yes. This is values column. So here what I'm doing is, see here, I want to convert these rows. I want to convert these rows into columns. Rows to columns is called your pivoting. Am I correct? Right. So what will happen is, instead of displaying 2020, here it will display 2020, 2021, 2022. So here I just specified the expenses. I just do this one. So convert, do the pivoting on the year column. Okay, got it? Hello, sorry. See, the previously it was like this. It was like this. You wanted to, instead of displaying the year in rows, you want to display it in columns. So the 2020 should come here, and 2021 should come here, 2022 should come here. For each year, you need to have separate columns. You want to basically convert the row into columns. So so what I did here, I just selected the year column and then I selected the expenses. Look here, now you can see the pivoted data. It looks pretty compact, isn't it? If you look at this file, the promoted data. Okay. If you see this file, you need to scroll down and see it, right? Little bit challenging to understand or gain insight by scrolling down and seeing it. Instead, what you do is, if you create a pivoted column, if you do pivoting, it looks pretty compact. Look here, month. You don't have to scroll down. So month, and each month, 1, 2, 3, 9 months, right? Each month, what is the expenses in 2020? What are the expenses being incurred in 2021? What are the expenses being incurred in 2022? You don't have to scroll down. It is a bit compact. Now we understood the advantage of using pivot, right? So your report will be, a little bit compact when you use pivot model, pivot column. Okay, you can convert the rows into columns using pivot column. And supposing I want to convert the columns into rows, that is what your unpivot. So you have an option called unpivot here. Just select here. 3 different options are, but if you select this one, it'll do the unpivoting. First of all, let us see what is unpivoting. Converting the columns, these columns into rows. That is what you are unpivoting. So in order to the unpivoting, right? So what I do is I just select multiple columns. By holding the control key, I can do the multi-select of the column. And next one is I just click on the unpivot columns. So all the columns now became rows. Look here, 2020, what is this? All the things. And you can move this towards left or something like that. Here, if you say, you need to rename it after you do the unpivoting. And also you can drag and drop. You can change the column order by dragging from the right to left. You can do it. So in 22, this is the original data, right? This is the original data we have seen. So with this, you are able to understand what is unpivot. And we have another option called unpivot other columns. Unpivot only selected columns. So in this case, what I do is, okay, what I do is I just go to the left side. Look here, this is where I can see my query expenses at the bottom. I just select this one, right click on it, and then I'm going to duplicate it. But don't do duplicate in the real terms, because each query will have huge volume of data. Unless otherwise required, don't select this one, okay? Now, if I wanted to use this feature, unpivot only selected columns, okay? I just do the pivoting again. You can unpivot something like this, 20, 20, 20, 21, 22. For month one, what are the expenses we incurred? And month two, these 3 years, what are the things? You can do it, okay? So that is what you can do it with unpivot columns, okay? See, the pivot is you want to convert the rows into columns. The opposite is your unpivot. But within this, you have different options are available. Unpivot other columns. Okay. And unpivot only selected column. This is an example for unpivot for selected columns. Sorry. If they wanted to view the data this way, we can do it this way also, okay? And I just go back to my expenses again. This is the original data, fine. What I will do is, again, I just do the duplicate. Okay, in this case, okay, this is the data, we have it. And for example, I just pivoted with the pivot. Yes, the rest of them I'm going to unselect it. Let's say you did the pivoting, and then if you want to unpivoting with the third option that are available in your unpivot, what is happening? What is going to happen? That we will see it now. You did the pivoting, which means you convert the rows into columns. Now you want to convert these columns into rows. See, look here, the second option is unpivot other columns. Pretty simple. Okay, but what is the difference between these two? If you want to unpivot columns, it will ask you which all columns you want to unpivot. Sorry. If you want to unpivot these 3 columns, you need to click on it and you need to select these 3 columns manually by holding the control key. For example, so you need to select it manually by holding your control key. But instead, let's say you have here it is month data are there in the columns. If you have 24 months data, right? So 24 columns will be there. If you want to unpivot all the other 24 columns, this option is very much helpful. Unpivot other columns, except this column, rest of the column you can do unpivoting. Rest of the columns, you convert that from column to rows. Hello. So got it? See, all these three options are same here, but when you are supposed to use which one, right? That is what I explained it now. So pivoting and unpivoting is fine. Okay, what else? What next we have it? I just go here and then pivoted column if we see here. Okay, fine. So now if let us explore what is transpose. Hope you understood what is pivot, converting rows into columns. Unpivot is columns to rows, you can convert it. But here you have three different options. I have explained you. Right. Okay. The next one is the transpose. What is transpose? Transpose will help you to rotate the data, rotate the values. For example, if I simply click on it, it does the, sorry, not here. So always make sure that you are selecting the last step. So in this case, I'm going to undo this one. And if I select transpose, look here, it rotated the entire data, right? It rotates the data. Basically, if you select this once, it will do unpivot. And if you click on it one more time, it will become pivoting. Okay. And I'm going to click on it one more time. Okay. But you need to rename it. So here month and the expenses, something like that. Okay, here. This is what the format, right? So we use, this is your 2011, 12, 13. You need to rename it. Look here, these values and these values are seen. 5,000, 5,000, 6,000. 5,000, 5,000, 6,000. Only thing is, you need to rename the column, okay? When in the case of, see, the point what you need to remember is, instead of doing pivoting separately and unpivoting separately, you just use the transpose feature. What it does is it converts your rows into columns, columns into rows. If you, once you click it, it'll do the pivoting. When you re-click it, it'll do the unpivoting. That's all. And what is, sorry, I shouldn't have done that. What is reverse rows? It is a reverse of this data set. Okay, if I select reverse rows, so you can see the reversed value. So here initially we were seeing that in the original data 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, month 1, month 2, month 3. Now it shows the recent month and most recent and recent month like that. Okay, it will show like this. If you want to rotate or reverse the rows, you have an option for this one also. Okay, the row number 9 becomes 1, and then row number 2 becomes 8, row number 3 becomes 4. See, initially it was 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, if you wanted to display in 4, 3, 2, 1, you can go for reverse rows. Basically, these options helps us to rotate the data, and by rotating the data, you might tend to get more insight. Okay, hope you understood what is pivot and what is unpivot. And unpivot, there are three options. This is nothing but the typical unpivot. Okay, whatever the column that you want to unpivot, you need to select all the columns and then click on it, so that all the columns will become rows. And other option is unpivot other columns. That is what I have shown the other example. And then the last one is unpivot only selected columns. I just select this specific column, rest of the column I wanted to unpivot. But typically what we do is we select these three columns manually. Don't do it. Except this column, rest of the columns, you do unpivot. It's a beautiful feature, isn't it? If you select it, rest of the columns, right? So we'll get converted as a rows. From columns to rows, it will get converted. And the transpose and reverse rows I've seen. And then the next one is the count rows. If you select count rows, it will tell you how many number of records are there in your data set. Look here, 9. Fine. Okay. I don't want to talk further. It'll overwhelm you, right? If I talk too many things in a single session. I will share this recorded view. You can watch it. And what we will do is I will share some assignment. Okay. And we have some quizzes, and the assignment is also available. We can do it. Okay. And for the data modeling, we have for even for that, we have some assignments. For that, I will give you the adventure data set, adventure works. You can work on that also, because that adventure works reasonably. It has good amount of data in it, and also multiple files will be there, dimension tables and the fact tables will be there. You can use it. Then you can. So any of the adventure database, how we can set up in the SQL Server. You don't have to, because I will give the data in Excel itself. Okay. Or if you still say, no, I want to set up, right? So probably I will share my other video wherein I discussed about that, how to set up the demo database, which is nothing but the adventure works. And regarding the Power BI cloud service, so this wraps up the transpose and these things.